with your feet, you're closing yourself off a little bit. That last ball, because you're a little bit closed off, to balls coming in from this angle, you're having to play around yourself a little bit to try and access the ball. If you just get your trigger in a little bit earlier, that might solve a lot of your problems. Oh, left-handed, nice. Okay. So, Neel, what would be the first thing that you would say gets you into trouble?
Any balls around here probably get a bit closed off.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what do you get out doing that, or is it more just that?
Maybe my balance is going over. Maybe the shoulder needs to be open a little bit more.
I think your shoulders are fine actually. I think if anything, it's just that you're with your feet, you're closing yourself off a little bit. So like your front foot gets across into this position so that your front foot is in front of your back foot. Now, it doesn't matter if it's not getting you out, because it wouldn't change anything if it's not getting you into trouble. You can say what would be, you can say, if you were to open yourself out a little bit more, it might mean that you're able to hit through mid-wicket a little bit better. But what it might also mean is that you get squared up to balls going across you. So the impetus is on you to decide when is the right time to make a change. If you think that it's getting you into trouble, if you think that you're getting out because of this, then you might want to do one of two things. You might want to either open up your front toe a little bit so that when you do come across here, you still have access to the ball. Or you might want to open up your stance a little bit so that you're just accessing mid-on a little bit better. Ultimately, it's going to be a decision that you'll make based on your results and whether there is a need to make a change. But if you're doing okay, if you're scoring runs, then there's no need to make a change. I'm just going to go around the wicket now and try and target that area. Lovely. So that's actually quite a good example of what happens. I say that because that last ball, because you're a little bit closed off, to balls coming in from this angle, you're having to play around yourself a little bit to try and access the ball, which means that if it does anything off the seam like that one did, then because playing around yourself, you have to meet it a little bit further out, and that's when you square up. And that's something that people go through at every level of cricket. But again, I think it's a judgment call from you whether you want to open yourself out a little bit more and just like try and play it a little bit straighter, or if you think that that's okay, you're all right with one form of dismissal as long as it means that you can access other shots. Okay. Just for this drill, do you want to just try and open yourself out a little bit for this one? So just like
Is your shoulder?
Not your shoulder. You want to keep your shoulders the same. Just like with your bottom half, I'd say. Yeah.
Still across from it.
Actually, what's happening is like your setup is fine.
Yeah.
But when you actually do your trigger movement, that's when it comes across that way.
Yeah.
So actually, what I might say to you is, rather than triggering when I'm releasing the ball, get your trigger in early. So when I take my hand back, do your trigger. Do your trigger now. Lovely, nice. That's okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Nice. Lovely. So I'd say actually the reason that you were closing yourself off was not necessarily because of your setup, because your setup was fine.
Yeah.
It's because of your trigger.
Cool.
And really what was happening was because I'm standing so close and because it's quite a late trigger, that means it sometimes gets rushed. And when you're rushing it, everything happens quickly and you don't have time to rebalance. So if you just get your trigger in a little bit earlier, that might solve a lot of your problems.
Do you think it's worth me abandoning the trigger, or do you reckon it's too big, or is it just more case of just getting it out of the way?
Your trigger is fine. You just need to do it slightly earlier.
Cool.
I'm never a big fan of like telling people to lose their trigger because the body wants to trigger, and if you try not to trigger, you will trigger, but just in a way that's not controlled.
Cool.
So get your trigger, but just do it slightly earlier. That's all.
Okay.
Beautiful. Nice.
Came across it, didn't I?
Yeah. So, like we spoke about earlier, when you were doing your trigger, Neel, it looks to me like after you've done your trigger, your head's still going this way. So, perfectly balanced in your stance, head going towards mid-on, but then with the trigger, head's now this way, and then the ball's coming in this way, the head is dragging you across. So like we spoke about earlier, I'm just going to get you to, after you've done your trigger, because now we're trying to do it a little bit earlier, after you've done your trigger, make sure that your head is still going towards mid-on. So you got your little nudge, head still going towards mid-on, and then you can go that way.
As opposed to
mid-on.
falling over.
As opposed to triggering with your feet, but taking your head with you. Leave your head where it is, going towards mid-on, and just trigger with your feet.
Cool.
So really focus on like getting your weight going towards mid-on after you've done your trigger. That's right, that's fine. That's okay, going down. Lovely. Lovely. Nice. Neel, the one thing I would say to you is like you got a lovely setup. You can access the ball. It's nice inside on. Anything outside off, you're fine. The only thing I would say to take away from this lesson is just make sure that your weight is within your body. That you're going towards. You don't even have to think about going towards mid-on. Just make sure that your weight is over your feet and over your body, and hopefully that will mean that you can push off your feet and go towards the ball. Really, like we spoke about earlier, the tendency, especially for left-handers, is to go towards the line of the ball, go towards the ball. Whereas, really, a lot of it is about like controlling that tendency and just keeping everything nice and compact, letting the ball come, and then getting nice and softly to straight down, back down the pitch and towards mid-on.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.